Private Lender Podcast, Episode 32.
The Private Lender Podcast quote of the day comes to us from George Soros, who said, "If investing is entertaining, if you're having fun, you're probably not making any money. Good investing is boring."
This is the Private Lender Podcast, the show that shares practical advice and know-how for new and seasoned lenders, from private mortgages on single-family houses to joint ventures on commercial projects and beyond. Discover details about investment vehicles that you won't find at your local bank or online broker. Listen and learn from private lenders and real estate investors, as well as from professionals and entrepreneurs, as they share the details, strategies, and the insight that allows for successful and prosperous lending. Now, get ready to increase your ROI. Here's your host, Keith Baker.
Hello, Lender Nation, and welcome to the Private Lender Podcast, the show dedicated to teaching private lenders how to mitigate risk and increase their yields. My name is Keith Baker, and this is episode number 32. And today I'll be speaking with John Jackson about his strategy for utilizing lease options on nice houses in nice areas. And yes, John is doing this in Texas, so you definitely want to hear how he does it, whether you invest in Texas or in other states with similar laws. And speaking of nice, let me go ahead and cut to the chase and ask that if you are even a casual listener of the Private Lender Podcast, would you do me a huge favor and please leave a rating and review at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or whatever platform you're using to listen to and download this podcast. It would go a long way to help the show gain further exposure and to grow the Lender Nation. And since this podcast is free, I don't feel it's too bold to ask you for a rating and review. Fortunately, iTunes has made it easier recently. You can generally just scroll down to the bottom of any episode and click to rate and review. So once again, I would greatly appreciate it if you would do me that favor. Okay, now that my groveling is out of the way, I want to warn you, listener and Lender Nation, that this may be a difficult interview to get through today. John Jackson and I ended up cracking jokes and cutting up and laughing so much that I had to edit over 27 minutes out of the original recording because it just became too much, too far off topic, and perhaps a little too off color. But before we listen to this calamity I've just described, let's go ahead and thank our sponsor. 713 RIA invites you to come out and experience one of the fastest growing RIA groups in the greater Houston area. The goal of 713 RIA is to provide quality information to every level of investor. The organizers Landon Rothstein and Ray Sasser have found that no matter where you are in the investing process, those investors who effectively network are far more successful than those who don't. And 713 RIA is geared to help you both get the information you need and provide the networking that will propel your investing. For more information, please visit 713RIA.com. That's 713REIA.com. And as always, I'd like to thank 713 RIA for their sponsorship of this show. I greatly appreciate it, Landon and Ray. It means a lot to have you guys supporting me here. So thanks again. And I recommend anyone listening to attend one of the 713 RIA meetings to network and to learn a ton of actionable information. And while you're there, you can say hello to me at the Private Lender Podcast vendor table. So pop in and say hello. Let's meet. If you have any questions, it's a perfect time. I'm a captive audience. You can ask me anything you want about private lending at that point. And if you're bold and daring, you can come out and listen to me speak. I'll be on a panel at the Quest Self-Directed IRA Expo, which is the first of its kind at the Westin Galleria in Dallas, Texas on August 25th and 26th, 2018. You can use promo code BakerExpo for a 25% discount off your tickets. And you can go to the show notes page for the link to purchase your tickets and enter that promo code BakerExpo. And as always, you can go to privatelenderpodcast.com/events for details and more information on these that I just mentioned and other upcoming events. Okay, let's go ahead and get to this possibly funny and no doubt tasteless interview that I recently had with John Jackson, the Texas Lease Option expert. I've cut it way down. I hope I made it palatable for you to take. But I really did have an amazing time, a really good time interviewing John. It was a bunch of fun, and I hope that comes through and actually makes it into your ears and helps you crack a smile. So let's get to it. Today, Lender Nation, we're pleased to bring on the show John Jackson. John is known as the Texas Lease Option guy, or the expert in Texas lease options. And he also was one of the people on the mastermind down in Cancun. So I'm sure he's going to leak a secret or two, but about that time we had on the mastermind with Mitch Stephen. But anyway, please welcome to the show, John. Welcome, and thank you for coming on today.
You know what? I think I've got the wrong number. I was trying to call Ifratelli's. Is it?
No, this is the real estate 12-step hotline. Okay. Where we I'm just now getting to the point where I admit that I have a problem. So
dude, you got a problem. I saw it all over you in Cancun, man. All that black label stuff, man.
Yeah.
It was so bad even the Mexicans were looking at you funny.
And they're used to looking at Americans funny, aren't they?
Yeah. You know what? After they saw you down there, they're like, yeah, build that wall. Build that freaking wall. Keep his ass out. Yeah. We don't need more of that.
Okay, so I'm going to need to go into iTunes and flip this over to explicit language because I have a feeling this episode is... If Landon was bad, this one's really going to get out of hand. So
we're going to get out of control, people. What's up?
Yeah, so much for professionalism. This is going right out the window. Anyway, all right. So enough of that. Go ahead and
you know what? I'm looking at you on video, and I'm like, this is like a scene from Catch a Predator. You know, just
that guy's going to walk out from behind me in just a minute and ask you what you're doing here.
So, were you really delivering newspapers?
I was selling encyclopedias, sir.
You know, Britannica has not been in business for a while. What are you doing here?
That's why I haven't been paid. So, yeah, this is going straight to the toilet right now. This is good. All right. So anyway, give us a little background. I know you weren't always obviously, as you can tell, John's got a background in comedy. But what else did you do for real money?
Well, I had a van, and I would go to car washes, and I'd sell 6x9s, and I had candy. No, so
you did that too?
I did. That was before there were bird dogs, you know. So.
Right? Yeah.
I just snorted.
This has already gone off the rails. I don't know how many.
Oh my God! So I'm trying to get serious here. All right. So so my background is before real estate was in day trading, and I was a self-taught day trader. I traded options. I traded stocks, and then wanted to get into real estate. And what I noticed when I was looking to get into real estate is that there was a lot of similarities between real estate and the stock market. One of them being you've got to find your niche. Another one being all markets are cyclical. And so as I looked into real estate, there were so many ways to make money in real estate, but I had to find my niche. And my niche did not involve buying a rental property, being at risk, making $100 a month in profit, whatever the case may be. So I kept stumbling upon lease options. Well, I traded options on the stock market, and I love the fact that lease options done properly require no money, no risk, and you could help people. You could help the seller, you could help the buyer, and make money at the same time. So I started delving into lease options. Had no clue what I was doing, zero clue. And the first house I did, actually the first two houses I did, I found by driving for dollars. And they were literally less than a mile from where I lived. And one was a for sale by owner. The other was for sale by a HomeVestor franchisee. And once I did that house for HomeVestors, I started doing more and more houses for HomeVestors and different franchisees. And they started sending me spreadsheets like every week. And I would do all these houses for HomeVestors. And that's how I got started in real estate, was turning houses for sale by owner or HomeVestor franchisees.
So I like the fact you bring up driving for dollars, because that's a great way. You don't have to have a big marketing budget. You just need some gas in a car to get going and get started. So how would explain the process? Because I mean, I obviously private lending is an alternative investment, but so many people got scared and turned away from lease options after in Texas anyway, about 2005. So they said you can't do it, or you can only do it for like 30 or 90 days, and it's basically impossible. Don't do it to an end buyer. So I'm going to have to ask you to back that up. And how you got into it? How is it? How do you stay legal? How do you I mean, I didn't notice any shackles on. Oh no, that's right. You did come in a van to the airport down in Cancun, and they took the shackles off.
I did. You know what? I think orange looks nice in Mexico.
It really does, especially the pastel. The pastel one's really nice.
By the way, I can't see your ankle. Did you get the monitor off?
Yeah, no, it came off. It short circuited and burned me. So I've got a pending lawsuit with the county, Harris County. But hey, other than that, I mean, I'm fine. I kept the leg, and I've got a big supply of hydrocodone if you want. So,
and Keith will be at the tomorrow's real estate meeting.
I will be at the 713 Rio.
What exactly are you offering? Is it private money or hydro?
Private money and pills. Okay. I like to keep it simple. All right. So back to, how do you strike this the lease option?
So let me back up a little bit. So there's 3 different types of lease options. There's the sandwich lease option, where you stay in the middle of the deal, and the buyer's paying you, you pay the owner. So you're basically still building the house with an option of purchase. Okay. There's a straight lease option that's where you own the house, and instead of renting it, you're offering as a lease option.
Okay.
So you're getting money down. You're getting, they're taking care of the property, this and that. So that's a straight lease option. What I specialize in is lease option assignments, where let's assume you've got a house there, Keith, and you're trying to sell it, hadn't sold yet. Well, I'll tell you right now, we just got it. We're getting a house today under contract. Here's a real deal right here. We're getting this under contract, $320,000. A house in Mansfield, Texas. We're offering $326,000, I think, on this house. Now we don't. we put the contract here for $326,000. We then assign that contract to the end buyer. The end buyer is somebody or a family that want to buy a house, but they are not quite credit worthy. They're like at a 600 FICO, so not a 640. So they're close, but they're not there. That's who we work with. So we assign the contract to them, in this case for $12,000. They pay that.
Is that their down payment of $12,000 is going to be their down payment? Yep. Okay.
So they pay us $12,000. That'll show in the HUD. When they go to get financed, they'll show in the HUD as earnest money.
Okay.
The owner is getting cash flow. In this case, they're getting almost $700 a month cash flow each month. So they're super happy. And the buyers are going to they're going to take good care of the property. They're going to get financed within 10 to 12 months.
Now you say the $700 cash flow, that's after the mortgage payment is made.
Yep. And in this particular case, yeah. So the owner is going to cash flow. They're going to get full price, no commission, and the buyers are going to take great care of the property and get financed within 10 to 12 months. So it's called a rent to own, but I hate to use the term rent to own because that sounds like a refrigerator or a big screen TV. That's
sure.
basically what it is rent to own. Now you brought up Texas. In 2005, late 2005, Texas had each state has property code. They have occupational code and property code. In 2005, Texas property code addressed contract for deed, but did not address lease options. So they drafted legislation about lease options, and the original law was a complete disaster. It was a complete mess. It just basically said that lease option is the same as a contract for deed, and that you cannot do an executory contract on a house that had a mortgage.
Okay, so let's back it up right there. Let's go over to some of these terms real quick for people who aren't familiar, please.
Yeah. All right. So let me back up. So in real estate, there's owner finance, contract for deed, and lease option. Now, owner finance, like what Mitch does, is where you sell a house and you give them a mortgage, which is a note, and you give them the deed to the property. Mm-hmm. So if they default, you have to foreclose on them.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a contract for deed. Contract for deed is where you sell them the house, owner finance, and they get the mortgage, the note, but they don't get the deed. They don't get the deed till they pay off the house. It's a contract for that deed.
Okay.
Now investors used to love in Texas. We used to love doing a contract for deed, also called a land contract. They loved doing a contract for deed because they would sell a house basically owner finance, but not give the note. Not give the deed. So if they defaulted, they just evicted them.
Gotcha.
Well, in 2000, a tornado. In March of 2000, a tornado went through downtown Fort Worth, took out the Bank One building, and took out a neighborhood just east of downtown Fort Worth. That neighborhood consists of a number of properties. Some people in Texas will call it a colonista. It's basically where a bunch of people live that don't have Social Security numbers. They come from Mexico. They maybe they have I-10s, maybe they don't. They're buying them at the time contract for deed.
Gotcha.
So the tornado took out that neighborhood. When it did, you had all these people that had no homes. So they called the investment company that owned this neighborhood, basically owned all these houses. And it turns out, the investment company wasn't paying insurance.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened then is Mike Moncrief, who was the representative at the time of District 12, contacted Charles Newman, who's an amazing real estate attorney in Fort Worth, and they drafted legislation about contract for deed. And so Title II, Chapter 5 of the Texas Property Code was dramatically changed. And so what happened is after that, the laws were so arduous that investors just stopped doing contract for deed because it was very strict. So a contract for deed was lumped into it's an executory contract. An executory contract is a contract to be executed. So to make sense of that, an owner finance, if I sell a house owner finance, they get a mortgage and they get the deed. That contract is executed. Contract for deed is to be executed. In other words, it hasn't been executed yet.
Until they finish paying it off.
So until they finish paying off.
Gotcha.
So that's an executory contract. It is to be executed. Well, in 2005, Texas drafted legislation about, and this, it's not like Texas is a bad state to do real estate in. It's just that there were some people that were doing some shady things, mainly down in along the river, along the Rio Grande, Houston, and even down McAllen, just Beaumont, that area, taking advantage of Mexicans. And they were doing all kinds of things, like literally taking like a John Deere tractor and clearing a swath of land, putting up what I call Cracker Jack houses, just cookie cutter. Well, the land had never been platted, or they were selling houses that were in foreclosure, doing all kinds of things.
Obviously, they weren't closing at title companies.
No, exactly.
Okay, so that's how they were able to.
So they go to get finance. They go, there's no survey, this, that, whatever. They were doing all kinds of things. Anyway, so Texas drafted legislation about lease options. Now, people think about Texas, you can't do lease options in Texas. What they never talk about is North Carolina or Massachusetts. They've got laws about lease options. Matter of fact, they had laws before Texas about lease options. Yet Texas is considered, some sort of demon state that you can't do lease options here. But anyway, so they drafted legislation about lease options, and the original draft was horrible. It just basically said the lease option is an executory contract, and you cannot do an executory contract on a house that has a mortgage. So that was going to put leasing to buy, my business, out of business.
Right, unless you own it outright.
Then you can lease outright, and then now it's basically the same as a contract for deed, which is ridiculous. Because lease option and contract for deed is totally different. So we all jumped on the bandwagon, and all the investors in Texas at the time, we were faxing our representatives. I know fax, yeah. Calling, going down to Austin, this and that. And they changed the law, and I shouldn't say, they changed the bill before it got passed and signed by Rick Perry. So the final bill was totally different. But apparently a lot of investors and even attorneys didn't read the final bill. And but this is my baby. This is my business. So I read the bill. I stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning going line by line by line. What applies, what doesn't apply? What applies, what doesn't apply? And I think that's important to note, because even if you're listening to this podcast and you're not from Texas, your state has property code no matter what state you're in. And you're going to hear all kinds of rumors. You go to real estate groups, you go to online real estate forums. We won't mention them by name, but like Bigger Pockets. And you're going to
I'm sorry, Josh Dorkin, you owe me money for that plug.
Yeah. No, I love. And but by the way, Josh, in case he ever listens, can you imagine Josh being so bored he listens to your podcast?
I only on his deathbed.
Yeah. But the point is, it's not about anti.
But I appreciate your confidence, nonetheless.
But the point is, you're going to get all kinds of information out there on real estate, and you've got to take it with what it's worth. Is it off somebody who's trolling a forum or whatever, or trolling man? I go speak at real estate groups, dude. I see the same people at every real estate group, and they haven't done a deal yet, and it's been like 6-7 years. And they show up and just pretend like they know everything, but they haven't done a deal. But the point is, understand where you're getting your information from, and no matter what state you're in, whether you're doing owner finance, lease options, what are the deals, whatever it is you're doing, you want to know the laws and read them yourself. So I read the law, went line by line, and realized that okay, we've got to make some adjustments to our contracts. I spent about $30,000 in legal fees going to different real estate attorneys and different firms, always tightening them up, make them better. And we didn't slow down a bit. So that's been in September of 2005, and here it is 2018, 13 years. We're still going strong.
One, congratulations that too. I want to back up a little bit because, the notion that lease options are illegal in Texas. And when I got it from a RIA meeting, and it was an attorney. And one thing, I am by no means a real estate expert or guru, but one thing I have noticed in my limited tenure, is that when you go to an attorney, you're paying for an opinion.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what you're getting is an opinion.
Great. I love that.
And no two attorneys are going to have the same opinion. They might have similar opinions, but they're never going to be the same. And nobody knows how it's going to play out really until it gets tested in court. And even then, there's nothing black and white. And when you say, consider your source, absolutely, because, the attorney that was saying you can't do lease options, he got all of his money off of probate and document generation. Yep. So he wanted to write up deeds of trust and promissory notes for everybody. And that's where he wanted to steer his business. So lease options, since he didn't understand it and he didn't do it, didn't fit into his,
wheelhouse.
His wheelhouse and what he would speak about, and it angered some people. But at least he was honest and said, he finally at the end he kind of admitted, like, it's not my area or whatever, but this is what I understand. But check it out. So I always, my thing is, okay, go find 3 attorneys and ask them what their opinion is, and then if you have to pay one, pay one. So
that's a great point. Is that attorneys are giving you their opinion, and I've actually trained, or I've actually had real estate attorneys come to me and either buy my training materials or call me and ask me questions about lease options. I still remember this. There was a real estate attorney in Austin, and he called me, a super nice guy and everything, and he asked me. He said, he asked me how can you do a lease option here in Texas if it has a mortgage, because the law requires that the seller have fee simple title. In other words, this real estate attorney didn't know the difference between fee simple title and a mortgage. Now,
this is an attorney.
Yeah, this is an attorney.
And we're gonna break down fee simple title for the listener, please.
Yeah, fee simple title, and that's fee, FEE, not free. Fee simple title. That's how we hold title in the state of Texas. It's considered absolute title. It's considered the purest form of title. Title and mortgage have nothing to do with each other. It's like title on a car. You can have the title on a car. I mean, you can have a car, but it still have a payment on it. In real estate, in Texas, you have fee simple title. That is how we hold title in the state of Texas. You can have a mortgage on the house, but still have fee simple title. So if you go to the tax records on any house and you pull up the owner, you pull up the information, that owner has fee simple title. It has nothing to do with a mortgage. Yet this real estate attorney didn't know the difference.
Interesting.
And I had to explain to him the difference between mortgage and title. So in real estate, you buy a house, you get the title. You may have a mortgage on it, but you have fee simple title. That's
right.
You
get title to the house, or you get the deed to the,
deed.
General warranty, or in some cases, we sell a special warranty deed. But the house is yours. You are the owner. If there's a mortgage, the bank has a lien.
Right.
If there's going to be any transaction, that bank has to say, okay, our lien is going to be released, but that person owns the house. So the fee simple is the person who owns the house. The mortgage is just who has the lien in this case. So the private lender in this case would have the lien on the house, and the end buyer is the owner.
So in Texas, what you cannot do, and I want everybody to understand this, you cannot do what's called a sandwich lease option.
Oh, okay.
Now, what is a sandwich lease option? A sandwich lease option is an A, B, B, C transaction. What I mean by that is you as the investor stay in the middle. So you're the B partner. Mm-hmm. So you negotiate with the owner a lower price, a lower monthly payment, and then you're on the hook for that monthly payment. But then you stick a sign in the yard that says, hey, no credit check, lease option, whatever. Mm-hmm. The buyer comes along. Maybe you've got it in contract for $170,000 and $1,400 a month, whatever. You'd then lease option it for, say, $200,000 and $1,700 a month, as an example. So you're making that cash flow each month.
So you're making the $300 difference between the monthly payment.
Right, and you're getting the down payment.
You're getting the down payment, plus you'll have the equity, or the difference between the 170 sales price and the 200.
So there's three payments in a sandwich lease option. There's a down payment, the monthly cash flow, and then when they cash you out, you got the equity.
Right, okay.
It's a sandwich lease option. So it's an A, B, B, C transaction. You're staying in the middle, okay? You cannot do a sandwich lease option in Texas because what we just talked about, the seller has to have fee simple title. Well, in a sandwich lease option, on the BC side, you as the investor are the seller. You don't have fee simple title.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Sure. No.
A does, the seller, the actual seller.
Right. The actual seller. Yeah. A has fee simple title, but it doesn't convey to C, the end buyer.
Yeah, exactly. So you cannot do a sandwich lease option, which I've only done 2 sandwich lease options ever. And the first one, I only lost $1,300. The other one, I stopped counting at $10,000 in the hole.
Were those in Texas?
Yep. That's before the law changed. I was very green. I didn't know what I was doing. And I thought, I can make money at this. Yeah, I had no clue what I was doing.
Okay. Well, appreciate your candor there and your honesty.
But the way I do lease options is assignments. So I have no risk. I will not lose money on lease option. I have no money at risk. Nobody pulls my credit. I'm just assigning my contract. Just like you do in a wholesale deal.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was just going to say, this is like wholesaling on the lease option side.
Yeah.
So you're marketing for the properties. You do have some money, and you have skin in the game in the sense that you've got to go find the properties, whether it's driving for dollars or whatever marketing.
Yeah.
But as far as in the transaction, you have no money and no credit. It's you lock up from the buyer what their terms they want, and then you sweeten the deal and just flip it over to the end buyer, the lease to owner or rent to owner, and then you get the down payment.
Yep.
And there's no difference in the monthly payment. You're just getting that down payment money, basically.
Yeah. So in a lease option assignment, there's one payday, and that's the assignment, just like a wholesale deal. But the difference is we are not discounting the house. We're offering full price. So if like in this case, the owner wanted $320, we put the contract together at $326. So we're going to get full price. We're going to get $12,000 down on this house, and the owner's going to cash flow in this case almost $700. But we only get paid one time. That's the down payment.
So you'll get your down payment of $12,000 and go on your merry way. Now, do you follow up and make sure that the C buyer ends up executing and buys the property, or do you rinse and repeat, so to speak?
Yeah. So once the buyer gets in the house, I change my cell phone number. I've got a burn phone.
I thought you just did that for your girlfriends.
Yeah, no kidding. No, we put them in place with credit improvement. We've got the financing in place. And plus, the people we work with, Keith, they're very close to financing. In other words, this is not a no money down, no credit check, no problem. No, you got to have 4% down or 5%, depending on that price of the house. And we're going to make sure DTI looks good. We pull a tri-merge. We do everything.
The tri-merge, is that the three bureau credit?
Three bureaus with the score. Yeah.
And I'm curious, who do you I had Paul Ritter on the show earlier, and he does a lot of makes people bankable and mortgageable afterwards. So I do have a sense of that process, but I like that you're only picking potential people who are going to be able, if they do their homework, they're going to be able to be mortgageable and fully execute and cash out that contract.
Yeah. So the first thing I look at is debt to income, DTI, which most people in this business, they don't give a shit. Can I say people on this podcast?
Look, you can say people.
Okay. So most people don't care. They're like, hey, if you got the down payment, you're in, which may work for owner finance, but not for lease option where you're trying to help the seller.
Mm-hmm.
If you get just any deadbeat in there that has the money down, you don't give a crap about DTI or if they're going to get financed. Man, you just basically hose two people, the seller and the buyer.
Right.
So we look at debt to income. I do a tri-merge report. And we look to make sure that they're going to get financeable. So, in other words, I turn more people down than I do approve. Now,
you're talking about people trying to buy houses. Or you're talking about the women that you approach.
Yes, I turn down most women to approach me. You know?
All right, all right. That's my last one. I'm sorry. That's my last one.
Oh God! You know what? Suddenly, I want to download your. Suddenly, I'm going to subscribe to your podcast now.
Oh no! Don't do that. You'll give me you'll be the fourth person. So don't.
Do you have like a half star on iTunes?
There's a negative. There's a thumb down. There's like a thumb. YouTube thumbs down. And I believe there's some Rotten Tomatoes you can drag and drop over onto the.
This is your podcast goes right next to Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah, well, I am. It was funny you should mention that because I'm going to be releasing a compilation at the end of the year, and it's going to be on VHS, just like Girls Gone Wild.
No, dude, go old school. Put it on beta.
Put it on Betamax. There you go. Yeah, laser disc.
Oh my God, I saw. Anyway,
now we're showing our age. But anyway, back to you're actually trying to help people. Unlike me right now, where I'm just trying to be funny and being a jerk, but you actually try to help people. Put people in the house that
getting ready for finance.
Okay, yeah.
So I turn a lot of people down because they've got the money down, but I know, dude, you're at 52% DTI. I can help you,
right?
Not on this house. So I look at debt to income. That's a huge thing. The scores, the overall file, and can we get them financed in a year?
So you look at a 12-month window to get them.
So we put a 12-month contract together with the owner. Now, some people will talk about doing a 5-year lease option or something like that. Guys, here's something that's very, very important. The longer the term, this is important, guys. The longer the term of the lease option, the less likely the buyer will finance.
That makes sense.
So if you do a 5-year lease option and you get a buyer in there, dude, they're not gonna buy that house. Because guess what happens in 5 years? Divorce, kids leave the house, they're gonna downsize, they're moving, relocation, whatever.
Yeah.
I want our success rate, Keith, is unheard of in the business. It's about as close as you can get to 100%, but I'll call it 98% of our buyers get financed within 12 months. That's
because you put them through the program.
Right? It's part of it. Through our program.
Okay.
Now, and I don't know where this figure came up with, but this is pretty solid across the board. The standard for people getting finance and lease options across the nation is about 20%.
Really?
We're almost at 100%.
So how are you doing things differently?
Well, first of all, we're working with nice houses, nice areas. So I will not do an $80,000, I will not do lease option a $30,000 Landon Rothstein house.
I don't blame you. I would stay far, far away from that.
So we deal with houses that are $200,000 and above. So like this house right now, 320,000.
Yeah, I'll say
Nice
there's
house.
yeah, it's nice.
So you're not going to get people, that have, that make, 50,000 a year applying for this house. Or if they do, I'm going to say no. We're going to put it down. So we deal with nice houses, nice areas above 200,000. Then when the application comes in, we look at, again, debt to income. What's the tri-merge look like? How quickly can we get them financed? Is there a bankruptcy, foreclosure, short sale, anything like that on the report? Mm-hmm. So we're looking to make sure they can get financed within 12 months.
Okay. That's interesting. 12 months. Nice houses, nice areas, and people who are able to get refinanced in 12 months. Now, so when Landon and I, it's funny you should mention his house, his 30,000 houses. he and I have owner financed a few in that price range, and it's I'm curious because the demographic that we're serving is primarily blue collar, primarily Hispanic, and primarily on the east side of Houston, is what we found as far as like our bread and butter customer when they want to buy the house. So we it helps that Landon's wife can speak Spanish because that really helps out a lot of the stuff for us. So and I'm curious as to your avatar, or your target demographic or audience. Who's your average person that you're putting into these homes?
Okay, that's a good question. Totally different avatar. We're looking at people that basically it's a husband. Normally it's a family, husband and wife, 2 kids, and the household income is over 100,000.
Okay,
or close to 100,000, close to 100,000, maybe a little bit above. So it may be that she's a nurse and he works for Bell Helicopter. Something like that,
Gotcha. Professionals, basically. Professional family. Yeah. So they just ruined her credit or hit some hard times.
Something happened.
Whatever.
Maybe they were divorced 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And got remarried, but now they still, you know what? I've helped people that make so much money. They make so much money, but yet they went through a divorce, and man, they took their freaking licks.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you make 50,000 or $500,000 a year, man. You go through a divorce, man. You're gonna take some licks, Yeah.
Yes, indeed. One of my former jobs, I worked for a light company, and we would see where husbands would get the divorce decree from the judge. They had to leave the lights on in their name, and the wife would just run up the bill.
Oh my God.
And never pay it. Not to hate on women, but I saw this quite often. And it also went the other way. Some deadbeat husbands would do the same thing. But because of the divorce decree, there's nothing that other spouse can do except get the lights cut off, because they're not living in the house and yet it's still in their name, and now it's hitting their credit, on and on and on and on. So that makes a lot of sense. I know divorce is it's an ugly situation, no matter how easy it is or how difficult.
So we've helped people that have gone through a divorce in the past, but like I said, they're solid people. They just, and then literally, dude, I pulled so many credit reports. Back in the day, people would, this is schooling me. I mean, this is aging me. People would fax their applications in. I could look at their application, just their handwriting, and tell whether I would approve them or not. And because
this sounds like there should be a law against discriminating against handwriting, John. I don't.
The tough ones, you know what? The tough ones to disseminate were the ones that were sent in by Braille.
By Braille. That's a Braille fax machine, huh?
Braille fax machine.
You are really dating yourself now. So all right. So you brought up the handwriting, the penmanship. So what was it? The neater, the more likely they were.
I know. This is a podcast. I've got.
Okay, right now I'm seeing behind John. He's in his office. He's got a leather couch. He's got a big screen TV that has an actress on it that Landon likes. I think her name is Nikki Benz back there.
Nikki Benz. That sounds like something you get when you fly to Vail.
Well, I'm sure it is. I will have to ask Landon next time he's at a $30,000 house.
So I know this is a podcast; people can't see this, but here's an example. I just happen to have this up here. So here's a cashier's check. Okay.
All right, that's $7,000. Yep. Cashier's checks, Suburban Bank and Trust.
And so when the guy sent this to me, he emailed me and said, "Hey, did you get my cashier's check?" I said, "Yeah, I sure did." I said, "Next time you should put it on 24-pound paper."
24-pound paper?
This is fake.
Uh-huh.
I can tell just by feeling it.
Right. Yeah.
Here-
No, absolutely. Yeah.
There was a guy that sent his application in, and this is years ago. I could just tell. I was like, something's not right here. This guy was a truck driver. I was like, man, something's not right here. So I said, hey, just for our records, since you're self-employed, just go ahead and send me your last bank statement in, just so we can have it for our file.
Yeah.
So he sent it in. He faxed it to me. Again, this goes way back. He faxed it to me, and he called me. Hey, did you get that? Did you get my bank statement? I said, I sure did. It's from Wachovia.
Okay, business checking.
I'm holding this up to the camera. You can't see this because
Yeah,
it's a podcast.
yeah, it's Wachovia Bank.
He said, hey, did you get my bank statement? I said, I sure did. I said, hey, you may want to call Wachovia because deposit doesn't have an E in it.
He misspelled it. That's hilarious.
Misspelled deposit. And I said, oh, by the way, they forgot to carry the penny. So every number was a penny off.
Oh, isn't that cute?
His response was, "Oh, I'm gonna have to look into that." Yeah, you look into that. Why don't you call Keith?
Yeah, call Keith. He'll look into it.
He'll look into
back
it.
to me.
But
so I have a saying in my real estate dealings. And I'm not a religious person, but I do like to say, "In God we trust. All other pay with certified funds."
That's right.
That's the way I keep it.
So, but anyway, so. So the bottom line is why is our success rate almost 100%? Nice houses, nice areas, and we screen the buyer. The DTI better be there. I can look at a report and tell, okay, something happened 3 years ago. Let me guess, you got a divorce. Something happened, by looking at the report. Because you can see great credit, then bam, then a dip.
Right.
Now they're rebuilding. You know what? That's who I want to help. I want to help the people that are rebuilding. They're almost there. I don't want to help the people that are on the way down. I know with my program, I mean, get that crap taken care of.
Right.
Then come back to me.
No, I totally see that. Yeah. If someone's on the slide down, you're not going to be able to help them. And like you said, you're doing a disservice to both sides of the equation.
The dust hadn't even settled yet.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm curious, like, so when you get one of these buyers, what do you have to? Obviously, there's going to be some fees to pull credit and background and all that. So like if I was let's say my lovely wife comes home any minute now and dumps me, and I need I go through a divorce. I come to you. What does it cost me just to get started? Not down payment, just for you to take a look at me.
It's $40.
That's it. Okay.
For the application, yeah.
Application fee of $40. That's reasonable. Okay. And obviously, do you look at your down payments as a percentage of the contract or just? Yeah,
so we get about 4% down on a house that's going to go jumbo, which I don't want to confuse the audience, but if it's going to go jumbo, in other words, outside of FHA,
right,
I'm going to get about 5% down.
Okay,
the reason is I want when they go to get finance, I want them to not have to come up with a massive amount of money.
Right. What's the limit on jumbo? Is it 650, 700? What is the?
Different lenders are different, but basically you're going to need a 660 for jumbo. I mean, FICO score.
Well, the FICO score of 660, but what amount constitutes a jumbo loan?
Well, and I should say conventional. I said jumbo, but if outside of FHA, they're going to go conventional. They're going to need 5% down.
Okay.
We really don't do many houses that are going to go into jumbo, and I should have clarified that.
Okay, no problem. That's not a problem. I haven't had much coffee today, so that's not an issue. Oh, so you're going to go conventional. So basically, though, I mean, if you look at FHA guidelines, so they're 3.5% down anyway.
Yeah.
We're
getting 4%.
So you're not, yeah.
Yeah, and FHA loan limits vary county by county, but here in Tarrant County, it's 371.
Okay.
Which is probably the same as is there in Harris County. Probably pretty close.
Probably pretty, yeah. I'd say they would be similar, but the different neighborhoods and whatnot. So, okay.
So we're going to get 4% down. So their down payment's basically taken care of at the time of finance. They're going to come up with a little bit of closing cost, but not much.
So what is it? The typical escrow fee.
Yeah. So nothing change on the closing costs. Nothing changes the way we have our contracts. And again, our contracts are very, very specific. This is not some one-page BS contract. This is a 19-page document, and it states who's paying what closing cost. So nothing changes. It's as if they're just buying the house for sale by owner when they go to get financing. So the owner's going to pay survey if they don't have one. The buyer's going to pay appraisal, origination fees, half escrow fees, that type of stuff.
Okay. So escrow, you just say origination.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to write this down quickly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the buyer's going to pay the same thing as if they were just buying the house outright.
The only difference is that they're going to have a year of rental payments to get refinanced.
Yes.
Does their monthly payment go towards the purchase price at all?
Okay, good question. So in the world of lease options, people are familiar with what's called rent credits. A rent credit is where a portion of the payment goes towards the purchase. Say, for example, we used to do $300 a month. Well, we have to change as the lenders change. So lenders stopped liking rent credits. Oops.
Okay.
I'm closing the screen here. So lenders stopped liking rent credits, say $300 a month rent credit, because if they saw a rent credit on a contract, they'd throw up a red flag and they go, okay, well, we got to do a rent rate appraisal. What that means is if you're charging, let's say $1,300 a month, but offering $300 a month rent credit, the lender will go, wait a minute, how much is rent rate? And they'll do a rent rate appraisal. And if the rent rate for that neighborhood is, say, $1,300, it disallows the rent credit. So now you've screwed over the seller and the buyer accidentally. So in other words, you'd have to charge $1,600 a month to get that $300 a month rent credit.
So in layman's terms, and in my simple-mindedness here, so basically what they're now taking a conventional or a residential mortgage and now treating the property, doing forgetting comps and now looking at it, what kind of cash flow it would bring in. Yeah,
well, because if you're offering a rent credit of say $300 a month, you better be charging $300 a month above
what the rent rate in that area.
So
okay.
We just so going back to your question, does what they pay every month go towards the purchase? We don't do that anymore. What we do is we just do a flat seller concession. Now, for those of you listening, a seller concession is simply where the seller is contributing a certain amount towards the buyer's closing cost. They don't write a check for it. They don't come up with cash. It just comes off their side of the HUD. So for example, Keith, if I was buying a house from you and I said, hey, I've got the down payment. I want to buy this house from you, but you know what? I'm going to be a little bit short on closing costs. Can you contribute, say, $3,600? You pay $3,600 of my closing cost. You don't write a check for it. It just comes off your side of the HUD. Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely.
So what we do is we just do a flat seller concession of $3,600. So part of the monthly payment is not going towards the purchase. It's just anytime they get financed within 12 months, they're getting normally $3,600 concession. Okay.
So it seems like a clean little workaround.
Yeah. So we used to offer $300 a month, right? Rent credit. Well, 300 times 12 is $3,600. That's where we came up with the $3,600. Yeah.
Cool. And done. Okay. Quite interesting. And you've been doing this for you did this through the Great Recession even. You've been
is great about lease options. I started this in 2003. Now in 2003, if you could fog a mirror, you could get financed, right?
Right. That's how I got my first house.
Yeah, you fogged a mirror. So through 2003, 2004, 2005, oh my gosh, Texas law changed. Okay, kept going. 2006, 2007, bam. Man, I've done a ton of properties for investors. Matter of fact, after we got this call, I've got an investor in California that has a house here. She did a 1031 exchange, and she's in California, but the house is here, literally 10 minutes away, and she wants to lease option it through us. So I've helped a lot of investors that bought properties that, especially when the market took a downturn, man, they were upside down.
Sure.
And the thing about lease option, the way I structure them is I don't need equity. The house can be, they can owe basically what it's worth, and I can lease option it.
Sure. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't have to, you break that home investors model, right? Of 70%.
Yeah. 70% minus
all
repairs.
In. Yeah. Minus. Yeah, exactly. So this is you're able to, so where someone wouldn't normally be able to dispose of the house, this gives them a little time, gives them some monthly cash flow.
Yep.
And even if they break even on the house, it's still better than calling a wholesaler.
Yeah, I mean, because there's different levels of desperation. When I do my 2-day training, I break down the different levels of desperation. And there's for sale by owner, for rent by owner, MLS. Then there's wholesale, subject to foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
That just basically broke down the levels of desperation for those of you all listening. And at every level, except I do some wholesaling. That's not my bread and butter, but I do some wholesaling. But at every level, they're leasing to buy can help them until they get to the point where they're behind on payments.
Right.
So for sub owner, boom. For rent by owner, MLS, and that's something that I did years ago. I do something that's unheard of in the business. I actually market to listed houses.
Do you really?
Yeah. Years ago, I was like, man, there was no handbook for marketing to market. There was no. I don't even know if Craigslist was around. And I finally was like, man, who the hell wants to sell their house? And I was like racking my brain about how can I market to people? Who wants to sell their houses? Then it finally dawned on me. I know who wants to sell their houses. The people that have their house for sale.
How'd you figure that out?
I know. So yeah, I will actually market. I actually send direct mail to listed houses.
We fish in the pond where the fish are biting.
Boom, baby.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Now, when you market to listed houses, how do you handle realtor fees?
It's actually super simple. And if you're okay with getting into it on this podcast, we can get into it.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to know, do the realtors keep their, traditionally it's a 6% transaction fee at closing. So do you honor it or not honor, but do you keep the 6% going to the realtor?
Okay. So here's what happens. So I hit listed houses that meet my criteria with very, very specific mail pieces. What happens, Keith, is the owner calls me. Hey, I got your piece in the mail, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I do my 60-second spiel. I send them the numbers. And then they may say, okay, well, how does this work with my house is listed? How does this work with my agent? And I said, well, that's up to you. You want to let your agent know you're looking to market it as a lease purchase, but please let your agent know. But that, as far as how they get paid, that's up to you. You may have, check your contract. There may be a flat amount that's in the contract, which they often put in there. But if you want to pay them, whatever you pay them is up between you and them. So in other words, I have nothing to do with it.
I understood.
I never had a conversation with the agent, but I told them, you contact your agent, let them know. Now, I don't follow up and go, did you make sure? Did you talk to your agent? Let me see something in writing. I just go, hey, contact your agent. So there's a video of me closing a house. I should probably put it up on the web. There's a video of me closing a house, which is super, super easy to do. And you see the buyer, she's so happy. You see that buyer walk out to the yard, and she pulls my sign up. Right across the sidewalk is the agent's sign.
Oh, really?
It's in the video, yeah.
Nice.
So
you're not contractually obligated to that.
No.
To the agent, but the seller is.
The seller, I'm like, hey, you contact the agent, let them know what you're doing, and whatever you pay them, as far as how much they make, well, that's between you and them. You
right.
Pay him or her. There may be a flat amount in your contract, but I tell them this, Keith. I say, do not cancel that contract unless you just despise your agent. Let's face it, there are agents that are just horrible. Okay, that's human race. But I say, unless you just despise your agent, don't cancel the contract, because that's removing an avenue of marketing.
Right.
And I approach it as if this were my house. What would I want? Well, I want to have every avenue available. It's my freaking house.
Absolutely.
So I say, do not cancel that contract unless you just despise the agent. And so literally, as you and I are talking, I just got an email from a student who just got her second house in her contract, and it's in Little Elm, so that's going to be probably I can pull it up right now. That's probably going to be a $350,000 house. But again, so she probably did a mailing to this owner. Let me see here. It's $282,000. So almost a $300,000 house. She just got her contract. Nice house up in Little Elm. Oh, wow, it's a nice house. Up in Little Elm, which is up north of by the Colony, by Lake Louisville.
Is that the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah. And boom, she just got this Just got this sucker under contract. And it looks like a freaking brand new house. I mean, it's not, but I mean, the point is that this is what we deal with. I'm looking at it right now. Beautiful hardwood floors, nice paint, nice. I mean, this is a nice house. Beautiful kitchen, granite countertops. So, I mean, that's the kind of house we work with. I'm looking at it right now.
Nice houses in nice areas.
Beautiful 2-story house. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, this is a student. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your training.
Yeah. So I offer training through leaseoptionclasses.com. Again, that's leaseoptionclasses.com. We've got my training materials that you can get there. I also offer one-on-one coaching that we also offer. We can go to leaseoptionclasses.com and find out more about that. If you want to see actual deals we do, you can go to my website, which is leasingtobuy.com. You can go to Leasing to Buy and see the actual deals that we're doing. That's my real estate site. My training site is leaseoptionclasses.com.
So Leasing to Buy is what you're doing personally, and Lease Option Classes is your training. Okay.
Yeah.
Got that down. All right. And if you got a little something to sweeten the deal for Private Lender Podcast listeners?
I do. If you go to leaseoptionclasses.com /private lender, I would charge you twice as much as what you would normally pay. Hey, you know what? Before I give the offer away, I actually just helped write a book that's coming out in August. Rock and roll. It's called Real Estate Rock Stars.
Okay.
I just helped co-author that, so it's coming out in August. So keep an eye out for that. But as far as the offer, yeah, if they go to leaseoptionclasses.com /offer, and for those of you from Mississippi, that's 2 F's. If you can afford, if you go to /offer, then you can actually get my entire training course for half off.
Wow, half off. That's all jokes aside. That's substantial. Thank you for that.
When you figure my contracts cost me $30,000 to get my course for $500, I mean that's nothing.
Yeah, that's a good deal. That's a really good deal. So thank you for putting that out there.
I want both your listeners to understand that /offer.
Well, one of them only speaks Arabic, so okay. we're going to have to figure. The other one's it's Cantonese, so I'll have to
Cantonese.
Google Translate's going to have to help me out on this one. But John,
you know what? You say Cantonese. I got a funny story for you.
Okay, let me pause the recording.
Yeah, pause the recording.
Well, Lender Nation, it's probably best if we just fast forward to the end of the show, which is still going to take quite a bit of time because John and I had a little too much fun recording this interview, and I don't want to subject you to all of it. But there was some good information in between corny jokes. So enjoy the rest of the show. John, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom.
Are we done? Are we done?
Yeah, I got to get back to my day job, man. I still have responsibilities I have to attend to. John, thank you so much. Any parting wisdom, parting advice, or jokes? I'll let it out there. Go ahead, man.
Well, okay. I know you're going to edit out the one about the prostitute with the appendectomy. So
yes,
I won't say that one.
Thank you.
No, I would say to those that are maybe just starting off in real estate, I would say just do your first deal. Get out there and do something. I don't care if it's driving for dollars. Do something. Get it done, and don't listen to the garbage you hear online as far as like real estate forums and this and that. Get in yourself. Get your hands. Get your hands dirty. Is that it?
So okay, yeah. Get out there. So just get out there and do your first deal. Right. Just take action. Take action.
Do your first deal, and you don't need money to get involved in real estate. You don't need money. You don't need credit. Just get out there and get something going, whether it's a wholesale deal or a lease option deal, and get out there and get something going, man.
All right.
I mean, I've done real estate for so long, single family. I'm bored with it. So I think I'm looking at multifamily. Well, I don't know a damn thing about multifamily, so I'm going to spend about a month learning, and then I'll freaking get out there and do something. There
you go. That's how you do it. You educate and then take action.
Yep.
That's great. Well, John, thanks again for coming on. going to say goodbye, and I wish you happy and prosperous investing, and I'll see you the next time I'm in the Tarrant County Jail.
All right. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow, man. I'll see you tomorrow in Houston.
Yeah, with 713 RIA. Yeah, I'll see you there.
RIA.
All right, man. All right, Lender Nation. I hope you enjoyed listening to that interview as much as I did performing it and conducting it with John. It was, even though I don't do the lease option thing myself, I know it is a very viable method to invest. And like he said, no money, no credit. It's a great way to get into it. Obviously, John has that personality to make real estate or anything work. I think you can tell that through the interview. But it is since I've met him earlier this year, early in January, and then caught up with him at the Mastermind in Cancun. I've been picking his brain a little more and more. And I mean, even he said he does some wholesaling. It's not his bread and butter, but he diversifies even within the real estate arena. And he was looking to get into multifamily. So, which is the progression I do want to take this podcast. So right now, this first year, we're just going to focus on single family. So if you have any questions about single family, investing, note buying, creating the note, selling the note, whatever, shoot those questions over to info@privatelenderpodcast.com. And I apologize if this is a little subdued, but the kids are in bed right now, and I'm a little behind schedule. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing your most valuable asset with me today, your time. And I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Private Lender Podcast with your host, Keith Baker. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit privatelenderpodcast.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time.